I grew up watching the fishermen go off to sea in the wee hours of the morning, rowing those Moses out into the deep blue to launch, pedal and lister, crank those engines and set course for flying fish ground or hunting dolphin to sell by the pound. I would run all the way from school to raw fishy crates of daily flying fish, to sunburnt, crusty hand fishermen offering their daily catch for sale, to the flicker of scale and offal, the stringent fumes of diesel and salt water burning the memory up my nostrils. I grew up with fishermen, seeing them relax after a hard day, listening to their rhythmic cursing voices, telling tales of adventures at sea and the vast ocean that even now seems to beckon me. I grew up with sea spray in my eyes and the cries of hawkers bellowing against the backdrop of fish cloud draped skies. The evening's setting sun was the fisherman's friend, an arduous day of salt splash fag now brought to the end. The cycle will continue between fish and men. Now, when I watch crimson sunsets off Six Miles coastline at the end of day, I can't help remembering fishermen lost at sea like Sylvan and Piquet. I can't help remembering the flying fish gone from our bay, elusive as a nocturnal thief, doing their silvery dance now at Boko Reef. I still watch the fishermen each chance I get going down to the sea and listen to the sound of the conch shell. Fish, fish, catch of the day. I still watch those fishermen at Six Miles Bay. Nestled on the northwestern coastline of Barbados is the quaint fishing village of Six Miles Bay, with a population that has increased over the years as families from all over Barbados, seeking to find a place to call home, found this to be an ideal location to set up house.
That feels so real, but I know it's not. That's my worst regret. Oh no.
Over the years, the earlier residents even welcomed some of our Caribbean neighbors, who eventually called this area home. The name Six Miles Bay, most probably given by those European settlers who arrived on the island during the 17th century, thinking it to be uninhabited, and then encountering a small section of the native population, most likely 6 men, thus the name Six Miles. Some of the earliest maps of Barbados show Six Miles Fort and Six Miles Bay.
Long nights and short dances. I forget how nice romance is. I just wanna take you home.
I was born here at Six Miles Bay. My name is Frank Jones, and this is a journey through the history and culture that is Six Miles, a community that is now comprised of Six Miles Village, Six Miles Main Road, and Six Miles Development. Like all Barbadian villages, Six Miles had its share of characters as well as outstanding citizens who brought recognition to this almost sleepy fishing village. Boy, I was getting some thought to that theory that we discussed, right? The theory about the name Six Miles.
Oh,
You know, I had this fantastic idea that Six Miles was named because it was some some change the name.
Oh, I mean that cement thing?
Yeah. But I find that what you was telling me that didn't make a lot of sense. That make a lot of sense, you know. I went at this research, and I find a map, a old 17-something map, that had Six Mills Bay, but it had it spelled SIXMEN''S Bay, and then it also had Six Mills Fort.
So you see now, you had to come back to what we're saying.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't understand, you know, you got to take into consideration that when these people came here in 1627, their interest was not to give the impression that this land was settled. Although when they came to find these sites, the people, habitat, that showing that people were relatively recent on the island.
But you know whenever talk about Barbados discovery, well, what they call it discovery, because I don't know how you could discover some place that was already settled by people. Because the people that were living here was people too. But they always talk about the land that whole town and that sort of thing. But you don't hear mention about Six Mills. You might hear about Spice Town. Because we know about the story of Spice Town and Little Bristol and all that.
Because many people don't pay much attention to the Six Mills thing.
Right. But Six Mills is an interesting village. You know though that although, yeah, that history is interesting, but we live in just the recent history of Six Mills. We experience the recent history of Six Mills. And although we could only theorize about those early times, we could actually tell people about the history of Six Mills as it relates, let's say, from the 60s. Yeah. Because both you and I were born in the 50s, and we are original Six Mills born people. We were born actually on Six Mills Bay, right on the beach where our house was located. So we would have seen all the changes in Six Mills and the characters and things. Six Mills had its share of interesting characters and stories. But, you know, a few come to mind right now. We didn't have, all was not good because I remember we had our share of fights and things in Six Mills too. You understand?
The famous fight.
Yeah. One that come to mind was our cousin Loris, when she actually beat a whole family, you could say. The World family.
You remember how that started?
Yeah.
Dudley.
I met her start through
our uncle was in the shop drinking and he got tight. My mother went and called for you to go home.
Yeah.
And he refused to move.
Yeah.
She went across and called, and then somebody, some smart person across her there, but you don't left the man.
Yep.
And she went to move the man literally.
But what I always remember good is that she went home and took this piece of iron. I remember the piece of iron, and she wrapped it in paper. And she come back and she beat the living hell out of them people. And you know one people that she beat was the bodybuilder, Sweatman. Mad. So when bodybuilding shows and Barbados and thing, man, she put some legs in you. Yeah, man, Six Mills has a real interesting characters too, though, and the stories. But you know, a lot of it too was based on the houses in Six Mills, because you know, the structure and the arrangement of housing in Six Mills changed a lot now. And right now, all those houses on the beach, they all changed up now. So there's a whole change in terms of the layout houses and so on.
Well, you know, I did a painting in that area, you know. Right. Even I got even going to Darcy shop.
Okay. Yeah. I remember telling me working on this painting. Yeah. Oh yeah.
See?
Yeah. I can see that.
The Darcy shop.
Right.
You know, in between here you had
But yeah, you even got Mogi Rum Sunny there.
Yeah.
You better try Mogi for advertising there.
Miss Archer, Olga Archer.
Yes.
In between there, but you can't see her house. Yeah. Yeah, well, this is one that will be on exhibition next month. Yeah. During the exhibition.
Okay. That's good.
I can't imagine up there, like out there by the Judge Gap area. Who could believe that they had houses there, big houses, and then you had yard
Yep.
and beach?
Yep. And when they had houses, it never really affect the yard. It never affect the houses. You know, sometimes the sea would come as far out as the beginning of the yard, but we never really had a problem with the sea. The other phenomenon about 6 Miles is the amount of twins.
In the water.
It is 6 Mile water.
It's not water.
Oh,
That's the only thing I think of. It can't be. I don't think it's in the air. It got to be in the water.
because we had a real high amount of twins, and still in 6 Miles, because even up to recently, we have quite a few twins in 6 Miles. And if you started from the village, you know, there are at least 3 that come to mind. I don't know if you could think of others.
There's
The Maynards.
the Maynards, Loyal and John.
Right.
There's Graves, Benjamin and Joseph.
Right.
Then
Then there's also Graves, which is Austin and Martin.
Austin and Martin.
Right.
Our cousin here, Junie, he has 2 twin daughters. I don't remember the names.
Right.
Over there, you got another twin. Who else?
And then we have some in the back now, the recent births. In later years, fishing became a natural pastime and indeed a prime occupation for those men living in the area. The women also played an important role, and in the case of persons such as Ruby Rawlett, who would have led in the overall development of the fishing industry, not only at 6 Miles Bay, but right across Barbados. Marcia, your mother, Ruby Rawlett, was a well-known, not only in 6 Miles, because 6 Miles was a major, and still is, a major fishing village in Barbados. Everyone that know about 6 Miles as a fishing village would know the name Ruby Rawlett.
Well, being the daughter of Ruby, my mother, I was very proud of her. And she was a very loving, respectable, non-nonsense person. And she had 8 of us, and she raised 8 of us. And I could safely say she did it by herself. She did have a husband, yes, but then she left him and she finished it up all by herself. Basically, she was a very hard-working person. And she did well by all of us, very well by all of us. And
I remember too that she was one of the original owners, as I said earlier, she was one of the original owners of the pickup. When those pickups started running, before
Charles Douglas was the first.
Charles Douglas, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then she, and her was 827.
Right.
Yes. And I once in a while, but I was going to school. But once in a while, while we were not in school, I also went and helped pick the money, you know.
Right.
Was conductress on it. And
but I remember that her business, especially fishing, was very much part of the whole family structure.
Each and every one of us did our part,
right,
in some way or the other. We, the younger ones, like when the fishing boats come in, especially when they're like plenty like dolphins or anything, we actually go into the sea, collect as much as we can for her, as long as we put our hands on that, whatever amount we put our hands on belong to her. And that's real, that's how she make her living.
Well, I remember 6 Miles in those days was, even as a boy growing up in 6 Miles, we were all part of this thing, because we used to run from school and come and help to offload the flying fish when those boats bring the fish. And Ruby was the most, I would say, she was the most powerful of all these sellers, these fish hawkers.
The nickname they give her in 6 Miles was the sheriff.
She had a fishing boat. You remember what was the name of the boat?
Kathy.
Kathy.
She had one named Kathy and one named Elaine.
Okay, it was two fishing boats she had.
Yes, the Elaine had went drift.
Oh.
But the Kathy, that's the one that.
That's the last one that.
That's the last one.
Right, I remember that.
That's
Robert.
the one that Robert. Eventually, it
Yeah.
was after she passed.
Right.
My sister Margaret, because it was named after Margaret's daughter,
Right.
Kathy, from England.
Right.
And then Margaret sold it to him.
Right.
And then he was fishing it until he got sick. And then
Right.
he couldn't do anything more with it.
But I remember too that in those days there was a lot of flying fish, and
Oh, plenty. Now,
when that's where her pickup came in handy. Because I remember that when there was a lot of flying fish.
she had 2 pickups, you know that, right?
Yes. She had,
Yes,
she had
she
a
had.
smaller pickup.
She had 828,
Right.
but 827 was the big passenger pickup.
Right. Right.
And the smaller pickup was the one after Naba uses to carry Naba from up.
Yes.
Clinkets uses to carry them out first.
Right.
But then she got her own pickup, and then she had drivers taking them out in the evening.
Right. Right.
They would drop her off at Eagle Hall.
Right. Because she used to sell
Yes.
fish.
And then they would travel in the country and St. Philip
sell
and
fish.
all over. My mother, we used to work there in that barn, because although she was a hawker, she also had us working in the barn.
Right.
And we go and we debone the fish. So my mother had a hand. She worked real hard. I'm telling you, she was one strong woman. And I would tell you something. I was very proud of her.
When the history of Six Mains, and we look at the heritage of Six Mains in terms of fishing, is written, Ruby Rolla name will stand proud at the head of the park. Because
Yes.
I don't think we can talk about fishing in Six Mains or a history of fishing without mentioning Ruby Rolla.
She was always self-employed. She never worked for nobody but herself and take care of her family. This is Barbara.
Right. Ruby Rolla.
This is Ruby, my mother. This is my niece, Junie. This is me as a little girl.
Yeah, you can see that.
And this is also Junie. And this is me and me.
And this is the big picture of your mother, which is she's dressed going somewhere. This is the same one she going to wedding as well.
Yeah, she going to this picture and this picture is the same picture. She was taking me and her and Junie to the wedding.
Okay.
Yes. And one thing about my mom, any occasions that we have to go to, we came out looking the best in Six Mains. I'm serious, no doubt about that.
You sure you want me to stay with Marcia? Because you may get a little stick for that stick.
Why?
I don't know.
Who can beat me? But it's the truth.
Six Mains Bay flourished for years. Island's main landing sites for the now elusive flying fish. All activities associated with the fishing industry could be found at Six Mains Bay, from the fishermen who braved the waters of the vast Atlantic Ocean, which hugged our island home Barbados, to the hawkers and fish boners on shore, waiting daily to ply their trade, as proud participants, helping to bring these delicacies to the tables of families right across the island. as our fishermen ventured out to sea. They did so with the knowledge that their journey held an element of danger which could never be understated. The sea, as our old folk used to say, ain't have no back door. And each day, these men, the fishermen of 6 Miles, risked their lives to provide for their families, providing also a source of food for people of our nation. Sadly, there were instances where some never returned after venturing out into the early hours of the morning to secure their catch for the day. Sometimes, as we catch a glimpse of the sun as it set over the horizon, we can't help but remember those who would have disappeared over that same horizon, never to grace the shores of 6 Miles Bay again. You know, as I sit down here and look across the sea, I can't help but recalling some of those fishermen who would have gone out to sea and
never come back.
Never come back. You know?
There are actually 4.
Before.
There was Kenrick Briggs.
Yeah. That was
PK.
Right.
Sylvan Graves.
Right.
Daniel Willer or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he was from St. Lucie though.
Okay.
And Bella Chillard, the Courtney Austin.
Austin, right.
Yeah.
Right. You know Chillard.
Yeah.
Right.
Chillard.
Yeah. Well, I particularly remember he and PK and Sylvan.
I remember PK well because PK used to be out go on Sunday mornings with Jesse bought that hauling fish bar.
Oh yeah.
I remember one Sunday morning, me and Victor, you remember if you was there, decided that we would accompany PK out behind the show. I ended up getting shooters all on my chest and my knees. It was a stupid thing to do that Sunday.
And one of the boats that went out that never come back was the Slipper Bay.
Yeah, the Slipper Bay, that was the one that owned by Chalu. Because
no,
I think
that owned by Baba name?
Who?
A man named Baba or something like that.
I ain't certain who owned
Yeah,
who they owned the
Slipper
boat.
Bay was one that went out that didn't come back. I think that's the one that comes to mind now.
There were 1 or 2 people that went out to, that they out for a couple of days,
Yeah.
but they, fortunately,
Right.
they came back.
Right. Because we would have had some that went drift.
Yeah.
Understand?
Of course, then with the days before you had a defense coast yard,
Right.
perhaps if PK and them had gone out in a time like today,
They probably would have
it
saved
probably would have, you know.
it. Right. But the resource.
But I always used to imagine, you know, that PK and them would have ended up somewhere in one of the islands, you know. Or just in Vincent or St. Lucia.
Well, because
Right.
most of the fishermen who would have gone drift from Barbados, other bays and so on, would have ended up in St. Lucia or St. Vincent, and then they would have sent them back to Barbados. Most of the time they had to pay some money to get the boat returned to Barbados, but the fishermen would have ended up probably on a flight back to Barbados. You know, the island would have accommodated them and give them something to eat and everything, you know, and then send them back. So I mean, we had 1 or 2 like that too. I don't recall now, but we had 1 or 2 like that from 6 Miles as well. You know, and but those fishermen that lost at sea, I don't. And the thing about it is that we who remember them or who know, but don't actually know these men, won't forget it.
Sure.
But one of the things that will happen is that when we are gone off the sea now, the younger generation coming out won't remember that.
Well, they wouldn't know about it, right?
Right. So that's why it's important to document these things so that the people, the younger generation now coming, would know that this is what happened before. You know, so we will always remember with some fond memories those fishermen, especially those 4 that we named, who would have gone out to sea, and for some unknown reason, never returned to land. It's still an unsolved mystery. Yep. We have had occasion to mourn the loss of life at sea of some of our fishermen, and there were those who experienced difficulty but managed to return safely to shore even after drifting to one of our neighboring Caribbean islands. Those lost at sea shall always remain an unsolved mystery, but will forever live on in the memories of those of us who knew them as part of our community. Their names forever engraved on the historical records of Six Mines Bay. Taken in the view from the ocean, Six Mines Beach is simply breathtaking. Elliot Graves is a fisherman and a shipwright, and has been building and designing fishing boats as well as pleasure crafts for years. We took a trip with Elliot and spoke with him about his early initiation into boat building and fishing.
If you talk about it, no, you get your 8 years. Get 8 years. I'll go by this water 8 years. Huh? You understand? Yeah. And that is saying that I don't know what happened. We see. Or what happened. They say it was the moss. The moss not there now. So I guess no moss. But moss not there now. That moss not out there. So it's still ain't coming back. So that's saying I would like to find out what happened. You would got the snappers and things. And even things. You won't know. When you haul up a ning and you get halfway, you can't get back down. If you like come off your line. You get just like a brim. A cook will come at you, hop a cook. Cook will get back bottom. Because ning then got things come up. And blow, can't get back bottom. But I don't know then it's called deep water fish. Don't let it be cold. But I don't know what happened there. But if a flying fish like that kind of water, over here you still got to be on top of the water like thing. You still got to be on top. Now all my years of things fishing, I can tell you never see soil yet. There's a coincidence. See soil yet.
But you're not only a fisherman, you're a boat builder.
Yeah, I learned that trade with my uncle Sylvan. I could remember no so. When I leave school, I was working at Budgie in Church Street. Doing well, they could do welding too now. So after Budgie, they want pay. I tell me if I come, if I pay Budgie to learn me.
But because in those days,
You understand?
you got paid.
I used to have at Spring Hall every Sunday. Me and nephew named Murphy. Budgie making work, man, believe that we can't work. He got to go up in top and he got to weld. So it happened to one Sunday, he went there, missed you when he fall down. You break your foot or your hand. So me and Murphy went the next Sunday and do some work. And when me and Murphy went there and started welding, what man over here? What thought you come weld? Well, he doing all the welding and they can't do nothing. That's it. I tell him that what boss man do. Learn the boys, and then when the boys get into work, they want the owners to know that the boys can work. That then could do all the work themselves. I tell me if I fell up with that, they're done with that. And I went in the store here with my uncle Sylvan, Loon, Junie, that didn't Rolly go for because he do a little bit of, with the guy father, a little bit of shit right. Never between them, here we two. And they're paying their loan boats and then fine. No one loan like me tell me I got that paying in the boats and help to you. Come along and trade. I start slapping mahogany with a 3-foot saw. A long 3-foot saw I give him. His first album I slab was for you had to pick up, you know, the ball telling hill. Can't remember near right now. That same boat I think Jerry the Bat.
But that was a I remember a model boat that you built at Spikestone Boys School. This was before you start?
That before you start.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I don't want expert. After down there watching them.
Yeah.
And they been there watching them, I don't want expert. And I get some D-board, piece of pine, and they do a keel, stem. And they start molding out and molding out. It took me a little long to get the two sides equal. But the present moment we get two sides equal, then I get some cardboard. They mold it out. And that was my first start. And my woman tell me, boy, you could build boats. If you could, then you could go ahead.
That was a mascot.
That's for a good exhibition at boys' school. And that broke the first prize.
Yep, that was a mascot. That's what the boys.
I never let you know who got it right now.
I do. I will let you know we come.
I'll let you put my hand on that.
I will let you know we got that boy. Right?
And I should have had that
'Cause it used
home
to be-
as
yeah.
an ornament.
It used to be on the boat press.
Yeah.
Mounted on the boat press.
Look real good.
Yeah, a fishing launch.
Fishing launch.
Yeah.
And then they create and they work one day, learn Loon and them.
And then you build later on.
A dinky.
Later on you build a smaller one that
Yeah.
You go into.
Yeah.
It'll share the same.
Same way.
Yeah.
And then they build a dinky.
Yeah.
A dinky. Which me and Lorenzo hulling.
Yeah.
We hull big sea in that dinky. Till they skin up and get shooters too.
Yeah.
And then Dulu see me. Do that small boat here, boy from baby go fight. You say guy want that little boat length fine. They want bud to buy. That
Yeah.
big guy bud door bud in the out.
He buy,
All the men said me tell Dulu, man, he don't know nothing about no trade. Dulu dead and gone on. If he mash up my boat, it's my money. If he come out top, it's still my money. When they mold up that boat and lengthen it and plank it out, you men see it. Sweet boy dead and gone on. All them say they gonna do. And when they men see that boat, they men they struck. And from then they went down there. Bill 62, the Glory of May Hamill. I were bridge up on the bay. And they went out there and they start building for my own branch up then for my own. I work for Edwin Grade, my law, Roy Bradford, brother, all them fellas they work for, Dolly Trotman, all them. The same person boat they gonna repair now my father by back. I built that for Bishop and St. James.
yeah. Okay. And then I know you started building glass bottom boats.
Then I started building glass bomb boats, the square ones. And one night I remember I lay down, I said, "Look, you see this square glass bomb boat, you get no fashion." And I get morning, I jet me a paper, and drop and drop and drop. A catch. I just see me. I can change this thing, these glass bomb boats. And the present one now then, I change them, put them in my head and change them myself. And I do my work then. And all my work I do in glass bomb boats. Even if you want dinner on my yard, you want to say it, everybody tell me it look nice.
But I always thought that the design of boats, you know, when I was younger, the fishing launch had a different design. The housing was a kind of flat.
One house in.
Right.
One flat house in.
And then it
With the
changed.
decks at top, and had deck at the bottom.
Right.
And then they change them up.
Right.
And put over cabin and find men get them start on the ice.
Right.
But in that olden days, men were cooking butter skillets.
Right.
They might have a gas bowl or a small flat gas stove.
Right.
You start get wood
Okay.
and cook up there upon wood cut up. And you buy a bag, not a bag or tap wood, you should tap.
Yeah.
And inside boat you got some pieces of aluminum gas, make play it out inside there. That the heat won't get to the wood.
Yeah.
You understand? Something you go salt food too. Cause we see blackboard, salt water food. So things modernized, everyday thing modernizing. And right now, I want to change a different design on glass one boats again. I got that in view. Which is that I want to build a water taxi, but it can be different. It can be different. It can have a ramp in front.
So you ever think about doing one that designing one that, for example, you talk about water taxi. A water taxi that could transport passengers.
Yes, it can be more like a minibus.
From Pakistan to Bridgetown.
Yeah, it can be more like a
Pakistan,
it can be more like a minibus.
Right.
Right? But it can go stand right up front.
Right.
The engine can be sit behind. But it can go back seat.
Okay.
But it can go a ramp in front. If you don't want to go by jetty, you could go and let go in the bay. Go a button press, the ramp go down, People step off on the bay, right, and come back on. But you can go 6 side, you stay in the bay. But at the sides now, I buy hard plastic.
With the construction of 2 marinas on the southern end of Six Mains, this coastline has undergone tremendous changes over the years. Obviously, the luxury of once being able to walk along this beach into nearby Spikestown is no longer. The natural beauty of what was once Six Mains Beach has faded and has been replaced by man-made structures that challenges the natural course of things. Although there have been a slowdown in the amount of fish landing here on a daily basis, it is still possible to witness a new generation of fisher folk cleaning and preparing fish for sale. You can get your chubs and your turpits, and for those with the exotic taste, there is lobster. 8 cannons perched on the hill overlooking Six Mains Bay is all that remain of the once Six Mains Fort, one of the many forts along the west coast of Barbados, which protected the island during the attempted invasion of the Cromwell forces in the 1650s. These cannons, now overgrown by bush, remain hidden and forgotten.
Yeah, these cannons represent, of course, a very important part in the history of Barbados and part of the defense of Barbados historically. And they would have been part of the Six Mains Fort. If you look at the earlier maps of Barbados, you would of course see Six Mains Bay and Six Mains Fort. That's what they represent in the past. I am here with the president of the Six Mains Community Group, and he has some fantastic ideas of how we could use this site, which need, of course, a vast amount of debushing to further expose these cannons and probably have them cleaned up. How do you see this fitting into the future of a developed Six Mains in terms of historical significance and in terms of heritage and in terms of how we can market this as part of our tourism project going forward?
Well, part of it, well, first you have to clean up the area first, and it's a natural nature trail. Just clean up around the cannons, debush it a little bit, and we can use it to boost tourism in the island.
Well, it is a natural nature trail because I just came to the trail, and I can tell you, and it's a very good view once these bushes are the bushes is cleared. They have a very excellent view of the west coast overlooking the 2 marinas, both Port St. Charles as well as Port Ferdinand. Right now we have a wonderful view. It's slightly blocked by the overgrown bush, but it's a wonderful view of the Port Ferdinand Marina from right here by this cannon, which is the 8th cannon, and this is the one at the corner. These cannons are still in pretty good shape, most of them still in pretty good shape. They probably need some cleaning up, but we just saw that there was some attempt probably at getting them in a certain shape back in 1944. But this is a wonderful view right overlooking the marina, and this of course would have been pointing right over Six Mains Bay, so that any invading forces coming in from this side, this cannon at the angle that is at could have easily dealt with those invading forces. So it's very interesting. A lot of people don't even know that Six Mains was a fort. We heard about all the other forts from Spikestown. We heard about Orange Fort and Dover Fort and so on.
A lot of people don't know about the cannons.
And a lot of people don't know the cannons.
So I see some future development, a project that the community group can work on.
Yeah. But it's definitely something that we need to deal with, because it's part of the heritage of Six Mains. And as you say, a lot of people don't know. Originally, a lot of the people would have lived on top this hill and down the village before they moved towards the coastline. After the failure of a lot of these plantations, which were involved in the planting of ground provisions and canes, a lot of these people would have ventured now down the coastline because they went into fishing. And as fishermen, they wanted to be closer to the sea, where they could deal with their boats and so on.
But most of the original families from Six Main didn't used to work at the plantation.
Yes, right. And of course, I will tell you that they were involved with agriculture rather than fishing per se. The area that I see that we should move in is probably in the area of reclaiming land, because with the beach erosion, and we now need to have development along that coast in terms of development for the people, and not necessarily building concrete, but in terms of for example, Six Main's role in the fishing industry, and now we're seeing a role in terms of tourism development.
So you would suggest fishing facility?
Right, and in order to do that, you need extra land, and there's right now there's not enough land to do the kind of development that I foresee would be beneficial, not only for Six Main but for the entire St. Peter and Barbados.
This area, now overgrown with bush, was our usual romping ground as teenagers, along with James and Douglas Maynard, who lived just below the hill, and others. This village, now nicely paved, was once no more than a stony, rough, uneven track, a place where some of us would have lost our toenails. We have come a long way from the 1960s. Most persons born after the 1960s were born either at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital or the St. Joseph Hospital at Ashton Hall in St. Peter. But we were born right here in Six Mains, just across the road to be precise, where these stalls are now located. Actually, 4 of us were born on that spot. Lorenzo and his sister Kathy, our cousins. And as the saying goes, we navel string buried right here.
All this was a yard, back gate, and then, I mean, the earliest time we remember is when you go through the back gate, our great uncle Edric has some pig pens right behind there. Because he wasn't the only one in Six Mains that raised pigs on the below side or the seaside. You had Fred Skeet further across the road, who also had pig pens on the beach side behind his sisters. And the
thing about it is that in those days, the sea never really encroached where the pig pens were. The pig pens always were protected.
They were protected.
They had the sea coming.
But right, you can't see the rock there now, but that rock, we used to go. I remember if we wanted to go in the sea and our mother said, no, you can't go. We would go on this rock below there that was very slippery and slide.
Slide down.
Weather bar close and come back, and then we would be able to go in the sea.
Yeah.
And there was also a large marshmallow tree that had fallen over the sea, but it had a branch hanging over.
That we used to shake.
We used to call it the shaker tree. We go and shake and see who could fall off into the water.
Right.
But,
a lot of people know remember that shaker tree.
That was the time when you had beach, you could run race all along way.
Oh yeah.
You could walk from here straight around the store down to here.
But even the thing about running races and playing on the beach, that was all part of growing up.
Yeah.
In a place like Six Mains where the culture was actually shaped by the fact that we were a coastal village.
Yeah.
And I remember things like Sandball War.
Sandball War, Marchinil, Bury
War. And swimming races.
Swimming races.
Right? Swimming to really boats.
See who could dive the furthest.
Yeah. All
who could dive the most sea plates.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was another simple game where you get a bottle and you go down on the water and you try to see how long you can stay on the water, full the bottle. Empty it. Full it again. Empty
it, yeah.
Yeah. All
they were good times.
Interesting times, yeah.
Yeah. Then of course you had Trust Shop. The shop that Brandon had started that building as a dance hall, but I understand he never got permission to operate a dance hall. So
I think looking at that now too, I think it was made too small. I don't know why he would think that it was a dance hall, but it worked perfectly as a shop.
Yeah.
I remember the first person that would have taken over that as a shop would have been Vashti.
Vadney.
Vadney, not Vashti.
Vadney. Darcy.
Darcy.
I don't know if they were married or not.
But she had children for Darcy.
But yeah.
Who also had a shop right opposite the church.
And that shop was just in front. You remember up there, Miss Levine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice old lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Levine with all the rocks around her house and things.
Miss Levine would have, she was like a kind of a storyteller. And sometimes she would got, as children, we would gather around her and she would tell us stories about times gone by. I think she lived, I think, over 100 years. I think when she died.
I ain't sure that she lived out.
I think she
would have been in the 90s anyhow.
I think she lived 100. But she would have been one of the persons who would tell us stories about things that happened in Six Mines over the years. And she knew about the history of Six Mines growing up as a girl and so on. But that shop was just in front of her house. This trust shop became known in recent times as Trust Shop because the last man that occupied it was a man named Physically Trust, Francis James.
Rudolph Haynes, I think, was his.
Right, and he
was his real name.
Right, he used to run that shop.
Yeah.
He closed that shop then and went to Crab Hill before he died. But he used to operate that shop. That is the time when we had just left school and started to work.
But actually, when he moved from Six Mines, we weren't living in Six Mines anymore.
Right.
But incidentally, that was just about the time when Ratty, when
they had the murder on the bridge.
When they had the murder on the bridge.
Oh, yes. It's strange saying that it wasn't from Trust Shop that he left.
No, it was from
the other shop,
June shop
that he left.
Yeah.
But that was around the same time they had the murder on the bridge.
Yeah.
Right.
In 82. 1982.
Hard palms, soft feet, cold, detached, rum-drinking eyes, with the old sweat-stained felt hat stick on the side. Ratty left the boys in the shop to say he going home and cook and come back. Cross the road by retreat, to be precise. Mad head, twist spine, man and woman Sparky, alias Plant Doctor and Miss Ernesta. Calculating demoniac strange from the night before, now possessed with fireballs spinning wild in the eyes. Spice Ratty approached the bridge from the northern side. Sparky stand up, his frail frame leaning upon the side, and cool so he smile, and he watch it till he pass. Then you know that varmint, that man-loving swine, walk right up behind the man with a piece of multree log in his hand, and perhaps, sudden so without warning, without word, without reason, knock Ratty over senseless upon the bridge. And before he could arise, was beaten in the head on the concrete. Man, I tell you, that afternoon went dark, like a whole set of cloud cover over the land, cause the sun was so hot, hide the face in shock, and the wind ceased blowing through the trees from the riverside. Everything went quiet for a while. There was like a solemn silence, like when Luther King gets assassinated. The silence seemed like it would have stretched on forever. Every man could have hear your own heartbeat, I tell you. And the people gather like ants to sugar. They come from all over. The news spread quick like can fire. Boy, in that little while, Six Mines Bridge was like test match at Kensington Oval, or could do much on Spring Garden. Talk about people? Nobody could believe that Ratty dead. Ratty, who was a master mason with trowel and spirit level in his hand. Ratty, who they love his grog. Even people from over and away, from as far as America, called home minutes after saying how them hear it through the grapevine and want to know if it's true. It was a sudden sadness in Six Mines that afternoon. Fellas lament bad, shaking them head from side to side. Nobody could believe what them hear, them just couldn't believe it. Some say how if he hadn't left the shop, looking back a grog with the boys, breath would have still been in his chest today. But how them know he would have get hit by a car, or a truck, or a bus, or a bicycle? You want to see how life funny? And some of Rapteep friends and relatives would have hold Sparky and Skinny alive right there and then if it wasn't for the crowd and too many eyes. I hear that one fella who was passing in the motor car and see the whole thing stop and pull his gun and would have blew his brains to the moon if somebody didn't stop him in time. I tell you, it was a lucky thing it didn't night, cause morning would have found 2 dead men on the bridge and no witnesses at all in sight. Well, old boy, the action and commotion done and gone. The police stepped with Sparky and all the grief and talk quiet down. It seems that few people remember what happened now. Then buried Rapteep a couple days after, and they had a proper send-off. Enough people don't think, and 6 men lost another character. Sparky? He still down at Jenkins bidding time I hear, cause since them say that mad people not responsible for them actions, he might be coming out soon.
Yeah, boy, it was a dark day. That day in 6 months.
Yeah.
Very dark day, boy. I remember it good.
Much have changed in 6 Miles over the years. This once vibrant fishing village no longer boasts the landing of thousands of flying fish on a daily basis, but the true spirit of this closely knit community remains very much alive.
I've been in 6 Mins for the last 6 years. I have heard of 6 Mins as a young teenager coming up. I never accustomed in 6 Mins. But for the last 6 years I've been in 6 Mins, the people are very friendly and I have found it to be a very nice place, and I love hanging out in 6 Mins.
My name's Dave. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. I've been coming to Barbados for about 18 years. I've been coming to 6 Mins for the same amount of time, 18 years. I guess you could call me a 6 Menian. Is that what you would call it? Barbadian, 6 Menian. The best thing about 6 Mins is the people. They're all very friendly. We've been staying, like I said, for 18 years in the area. Jones Shop is the best. And you got Brady's just down the road.
Another lovely day in paradise. I love 6 Mins. This is old Barbados. All my family are here. It's lovely here. It's lovely. You pick up some fresh fish, maybe some roasted breadfruit on the beach, local shops, great people, lovely people, beautiful places to swim. Life is good in 6 Mins. Been coming down for 18 years now. Part-time, we come from Canada. We want to make it more full-time once I retire, and this is now my home.
As residents continue to enjoy the ambience of what modern-day 6 Mins have to offer. Whether it is liming by one of the village bars for a social drink, or some of the delicious food being served, or playing a game of cards or dominoes in the shed, 6 Mins remain a beacon in the north of Barbados. We welcome you to come and experience the life and culture that is 6 Mins or Fishing Village.
I can't sleep tonight with the ghost of you calling out my name. The voices in my head, they always sound the same, like distant memories. A better place where we both met, the kind that feels so real, but I know it's not, and that's my worst regret. Oh no. swear it was a strange but happy blue. Then it poured on us, a horrid rain, a sudden stormy brew, like little talks we had, with big ideas and so much hope, where we'd watch the sun and catch the surf and laugh at our own jokes. But it might be too late now, 'cause we're on the road and you're moving on, and I'm over here dealing with these long nights and short dances. I forget how nice romance is, I just wanna take you home. I'm tired of these long nights and short dances, where I forget how nice romance is, I just wanna take you home. But it might be too late now, 'cause we're on the road